votes for it. So I guess I'm curious, of the 7 that just voted yes, would all 7 of us send this to the voters and vote yes to send it to the voters?
But we don't know the council stuff.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
But conceptually,
The size of the council will be 13.
are the members going to
13 or
say,
less.
are the members, I think your question is, does a yes vote on this today translate to
A yes
not
vote,
being in the,
yeah.
not submitting a
Right.
minority
Yeah.
report
Right.
tomorrow?
Right,
You know?
see my dilemma.
Are we raising our hands or just talking?
Ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding.
Yes.
I would assume if I were to vote for it, that I wouldn't work on a minority report. But I was saying before, whether I stick with this, if there's no neighborhood associations, for example, or there's somehow things are deleted, I'm still unhappy about the loss. I mean, I'm still looking at what other kinds of authentic citizen resident participation there are. So it depends, there are other
Yeah,
things.
I don't think anybody's asking you to, write your signature in blood here.
Okay, go to
I guess my question
No.
was, a yes vote today represents a real possibility that in July, when we send this to the printer
Or
to the AG,
September
that
or
it would be a
March.
yes vote, or in September that
No
it would be a yes
possibility.
vote. Okay, that's my question.
I think that's the
What?
most we can expect.
Anything
Yeah.
is going without strong citizen participation.
Well, that's what I
I
wanted.
don't
Yeah.
see
But I-
any
Okay.
Yeah,
for it.
But I
I mean, all
think,
this is kind
perfectly
of
reasonable.
stuff all happening, I don't,
Got it.
and everybody knows this isn't what I want.
Uh-huh.
But we've stepped out of the normal process here, and we're in a relationship with each other around trying to bring the best, given what, one thing is, hey, let's have a mayor, because it's less likely to win. But I think that's cynical, and actually, I'm not sure
yeah,
that's
and
true.
it's debatable.
Well,
But
win
yeah,
by less if it
but
wanted
I
to be
understand what you're
less.
saying, that there would be a strategy to that. But then the question is, we are voting today we're voting today on an executive, or we're expressing our preference today on an executive and a council. And so down the line, when we're out there defending or presenting this to the public, some of us might decide that they don't like the council, and so they're not. I mean, what you're saying, you really want a town meeting. So how can you say I approve this, Meg? Just to take an example, you said you really want a town meeting, but
Smaller and different.
but now you're
But you
now
could
you're
be in the
voting on this.
You'd be willing to be in the majority on this.
I said maybe, I said
Well,
A real possibility.
Yeah.
a
possibility, I
Okay.
didn't say yes.
Okay.
I'm considering
Saying.
that because I feel so strongly that a mayor would also be extremely unfortunate for Amherst, so.
One thing I would like to know, and maybe Tanya can help us on this, is I'd like to know the reason why many towns with managers have smaller councils than mayors.
Is that now or?
It doesn't have to be now, doesn't have to be now.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question, and maybe you've done the research, I just can't remember if I have that research in my head or easily, at my fingertips, if that's 100% true. What I suspect is that it's often the smaller cities or city forms that end up going in this manager council direction, only because oftentimes bigger municipalities end up, with a mayor for a number of different reasons. We think of big cities with mayors. So if we can imagine that it's oftentimes goes with a smaller city form, that seems more manageable, a smaller council. But I don't know if it's a huge difference. I mean, I would have to look at the numbers to see if it often leans towards the 7-person versus the 13-person. In terms of
Would be
mayor
interesting to know
manager.
that.
We've heard
Yeah,
that
I can do some. I'm
we've
happy
heard
to
this,
do
but
this
we don't really
research.
understand why.
Yeah, I'd like to see. Yeah, whether it's a big spread. I mean, it might just be a little spread.
If I could just say though that what we had heard from the political science folks who we talked to, they said if you have a group of people trying to manage one employee, a smaller group is more conducive to that than a larger group.
I mean, and intuitively that makes sense. The question is, how much is this group really managing your manager? What you're doing in your charter is
Right.
setting out the duties and responsibilities of your manager, and that's what they should be professional enough to be able to read the charter and execute this in terms of the town or the city. Your legislative branch, your council is hiring that person because someone has to hire them, and they're minimally doing that oversight in terms of doing their yearly review. But oftentimes it's you know, a super majority that's needed to get rid of your town manager or something like that. So they're not micromanaging even remotely. They shouldn't even be managing them on a day-to-day basis at all. Like you really are putting a lot of power and trust in that person who's managing the town. So, you know, I don't, me personally, I don't see a huge issue with the size. I mean, obviously if we had a 60-person council, that'd be a different story. But between, you know, 9, 11, 13, you know, I don't know if there's a huge,
33.
I don't know if there's a huge difference.
Hey, that dog won't bite.
But I'm
Diana?
happy to get those numbers, you know, looking at just manager forms, seeing what sort of their average size is.
That would be useful.
'cause
And you gave us a chart earlier.
Yeah, I know
Right here.
I know I can run the numbers easily, but I just have to do it.
Well,
Diana had a
I just call
question.
that, I read somewhere that there was a tendency to move in this direction.
In what direction?
Towards a council manager type of thing.
I think that it was a national trend maybe 10 or 20 years ago. We are seeing now more mayors making a comeback. You know, things are cyclical. You know, if you can imagine, people are,
But the
you
second
know.
thing is, I really would like us to move on with the provisions of the charter and not spend so much time on a straw vote. I just, you know, if you want to know if we do this, will I support it and not do a minority report, the answer is yes, I will do it. Because I said when I got elected, I want to come up with what's best for the town. I think this would stand the chance of passing, ergo, and it would be responsible government. I wouldn't have to worry about political machinations and lots of money being raised and things like that.
All right, well, the reason that I brought the motion forward is because I felt like last time we had a decision made, it prompted a large degree of public interest and comment, and I think that this will similarly do that, and we can take that, we need to take that input, and then if it provokes us to go back to what we had, fine, if not, we move forward, but we're on a tight time frame, so I'd like to suggest that we use next Saturday's time at some, you know, that we schedule a public hearing. You know, we probably would not have the Collins Center come out for the public hearing, but we would have we would use at least some of this scheduled time for public input, and we would schedule it maybe, I don't know where. I don't know if we can get in the town room on a Saturday, or if we're already scheduled for the Bang Center, so we could use the Big Bang's room or whatever.
The Big Bang room.
The Big Bang room, and that we use next Saturday to collect input and then to reflect on that, and then we schedule another, you know, our next meeting would be with the Collins Center to mop up wherever we're at.
Excuse me, you mean we wouldn't have a meeting of the commission next Saturday apart from the public hearing?
Well, I mean, we're scheduled from 10 to 3, so
We could do both.
conceivably we could do a shorter one, but I don't, you know.
Maybe we should do 10 to 2 and then have an hour of public input. I would like us to move forward on getting the charter done.
But we need to know what the executive is so that we can build the charter around it, so.
What if we have an hour-long public hearing at 10 o'clock on Saturday and then have our regularly scheduled meeting afterwards?
I don't think it would be 1 hour, I think it'd probably be 2 hours by the time we got through.
Yeah, the same people.
well, even if it was only 2 hours for the public hearing,
And then we have meet in the afternoon.
it would take 2 hours for, just get something
12:30.
done.
How much could we get done
I
with
mean-
you, or should we just schedule not to have you come out for that?
Well, I'm thinking about it in my head because if this is the direction we're going in, it seems like certainly plenty of potential that we're going in this direction. There are a number of things that need to change.
Is your head spinning right now?
I'm like, what does this mean? Okay, and I want to, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, say any of these are viable options, so I'm happy, you know, whichever direction that people are going in, we will work with it. But the question is, you know, this in essence, we do need to figure out what that direction is, and I hope we figure it out next week, you know, so we can write it and move in that direction and have that version vetted. Certainly we could get things done. My concern is that you all have time to digest the public comments, you know, and then not feel like you're on the spot immediately after to vote in one direction or another. That's my concern there. Just thinking about the election provision, there are a lot of things that need to change. We can work on that a little bit today if we want, but in our head, a lot of that has to do with the mayor, but the council too, so we can work on it. Today we might want to go on to the neighborhood meetings and things like that today. So what I'm saying is you can certainly use us next week. I'm going to need to do a lot of picking through the charter, and Mandi's been really good about this too, so she and I can do this in conjunction with each other, finding the things that need to change, bringing in some examples for manager articles, and just getting moving in that direction if that's where we're going. So it really depends. We've done a lot of drafting, but now I'm like, oh, how much do we need to change? You can certainly utilize me next week. It just depends on if you want to have time to digest that before we go in that direction.
You mean digest on another day, or after the thing that day?
It depends, right? I don't know if people are going to bring up a lot of things that we should have thought of this and that. To feel confident that we're moving in a direction that we want to be moving in that afternoon. Because if that's the case, there is plenty to do.
Nick?
Two things. Since we're all proposing this in 1 week, I want to suggest that we give people multiple ways of giving input if they can't actually come. Hopefully they will come. But I would really love to, if we would ever be thinking of a third Saturday after next week, I would far rather work longer next week because I keep changing weekend plans, and I would really love to not have 3 Saturdays in May.
Yeah, I don't think we want to have another Saturday, but we need to find a spot.
Next Saturday is the only one. I can't do any other Saturdays after next Saturday.
We could also say a Thursday night, because it seems like, a lot of the Thursday nights are not going to be, we already have Thursday nights scheduled for ourselves for town meeting, and we just don't go if it happens, or presumably a lot of Thursdays are going to be voted down to go to the next week anyway.
Yeah, that's that way.
How about a long meeting on Thursday, the 18th?
Ooh, my whole group one would.
That work?
I don't know.
Because the 11th, I was supposed to do something.
That was a game.
Really?
Gosh.
Where are we now?
We are the
The 6th.
6th.
We're the 6th.
Trying to keep my head
Or the 6th.
there now.
So
13th.
here's another potential. Schedule a public feedback session somewhere for Thursday, May 11th, with the assumption that town meeting will vote down that as a town meeting night.
Seems likely.
And then we can have our 5-hour meeting on Saturday the 13th with the discussion, if we, we'll have an idea. So Andy and I would be able to, hearing what we hear back, we could come in on the 13th with manager council language. If we ended up going back to mayor council, we've already got that language in here.
Yeah, as long as you feel comfortable moving on, like hearing from people in the morning and then moving
No,
on.
I'm saying we hear from them on the 11th,
Oh, we hear
Thursday
from
the
them on
11th.
the 11th.
Can we
Okay.
schedule a public hearing at the same time as town meeting?
Yeah,
Doesn't stop us from.
I guess we could make a motion,
My God.
one of us could make a motion
I
on
think you can.
Monday at town meeting to say that we not meet on Thursday the 11th.
I'd say why?
Yeah,
You can.
we could-
You can say, so.
town meeting
the
members
8th
might
and
not want it.
So the big thing on town meeting on the 10th is the library, is that
Yes,
correct?
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, we'll be there all night. So
So people will vote not to meet on the 11th.
I bet that we'll have to meet on the 11th anyway.
I think,
What's wrong with having the public hearing on Saturday morning?
Yeah.
What's the problem with that?
well, we want to use Mike and Tanya's time on Saturday morning. I can't be here the 11th. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the event, and there are public events scheduled at the same time
As
as
town
town meeting, like the Conservation Commission has done it. No, I know.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with scheduling it. And if, like Rhodes said, it's a long library meeting the day before, they're surely not gonna want it.
Andy, would you specify in the promulgation of this that this public hearing is for a comment on a specific proposal as opposed to an open-ended
Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah.
So we should not call it a public hearing because those come with required
The
notice
post in the paper.
postings that we cannot
feedback-
make at this
a
point.
feedback
Session on manager council vote.
Right.
By the way, when is UMass graduation?
The 12th.
13th.
The 12th and 13th?
That's
The
what I
12th.
thought.
Yes.
So, just.
Then the 13th is the BS, undergraduate?
The 12th, I think.
Well, the Friday is the big ceremony.
That's undergraduate then.
Yeah.
So I propose that we meet next Saturday's plan, and many of us have put it on our calendars. We have the public forum from 10 to 12. It's really short notice, but it's even shorter to have it on Thursday. I'm not making a comment about what we might do Thursday. And then we meet after a half-hour lunch from 12:30 to 3, if Tanya can make it.
Do you really think 2 hours is necessary?
Well, they sure filled it up the other night.
Yeah, I think it's,
Up to 2 hours, we could, but I'm just saying, let's
1
just
hour would
move
seem
on a
short.
decision so we can keep
How about
going.
an hour and a half?
So we can keep going here this morning with this, that's whatever it is, this afternoon.
Are you proposing the 12th or the
The
13th?
the Saturday,
That's
well,
Saturday,
we're
the
scheduled to
13th.
meet on the 13th, but I think that if we could have the hearing on the 11th, we could actually do a lot of work on the 13th.
okay, if we don't have town meeting, which we won't know until the last minute, and it's very short notice to get the word out, and Scott Merzbach's gonna hear about this on Monday, and it'll be in the paper then Tuesday.
Or you could call somebody at the Gazette tomorrow and have it in the paper on Monday.
I'm just saying it's short notice, but either way, why don't we, let's vote between these two things. Public hearing on Thursday, advantage shorter notice, disadvantage shorter notice, and we don't know 100% for sure, we're not gonna have a town meeting. But it would give us more time on Saturday versus Saturday, where we would have more notice, but we would cut into our work time. Let's just vote.
Okay?
So the 11th or the 13th is what we're voting for?
Right.
How many want to have the feedback session on the 11th?
I won't be here, but I'd still do it.
Okay, why are
I
you voting for
avoided
it
the
then?
last one when they
Okay,
threw
so
tomatoes.
I'm only seeing 3.
What
Wait a minute,
time?
why are you voting yes if you're not gonna be there?
She thinks that's a better time.
I'll
Usually
tell you
our
why
time.
later, but it's a good reason, I promise.
I'll be there but late, but sure.
So, 1 sure, 1 yes, 1 yes, 1 yes, 1 yes.
Assuming we can pull it off at town meeting.
But we won't know until Wednesday night.
And that the word has gotten out, what we're really
The
discussing.
word has gotten out
We,
about this
I
session,
could,
and
I
we did
could
it
call
in
Scott
conflict.
Merzbach
But if
after
we did
this
it in
meeting.
conflict with town meeting
And
before
I
town
will
meeting,
send
made
out
the
to the
decisions.
Well, there's no reason
listserv
you
and
can call.
Facebook and
You can call them tomorrow.
we can
there's
get it
no
on.
perfect answer
Okay.
to any of this.
Yeah.
Well, what's
We
the-
can all take responsibility for getting it on different Facebook groups and all that this is happening.
All right, look,
Isn't it kinda lame?
so,
Wait, we didn't
Quite a
vote on the 13th.
Well, we voted on the 11th,
All
and
right,
we got
so-
5 votes for it,
But
so.
isn't it
Okay.
lame to
all right,
schedule something
so wait a minute, wait a minute. So on Monday,
Possibly.
and someone should get a hold of, Eastern, Stranger,
Oh, Jim.
or
We'll
Jim,
make a motion
to make a motion to move the other town
that
meeting.
we not meet on
That we
Thursday,
do not meet on Thursday, so we can have that
That'll
happen early.
right?
And then we say it's because the charter commission wants
Yeah,
to.
that might actually make it fail, because.
Your choice of
Town meeting
go
would-
to town meeting or go to a charter commission meeting.
Take your choice.
Why don't we just leave town meeting out of it and just assume that,
It's gonna get defeated.
Yeah, not make the motion, because,
and just assume that town meeting is not gonna wanna meet on Thursday.
They're gonna vote
But
it
it
down.
looks, is it not presumptuous for us to schedule something the same night when town meeting is currently scheduled and
Well-
hasn't been canceled yet?
Town business has to go forward and we're under a deadline.
Was
So
this-
we're saying to people, you have to choose whether you're gonna go to town.
Was the vote on Wednesday to not have?
It was not close.
It was not close.
Was-
Well,
was
it's not
it
gonna
close
be-
at all?
It's not gonna be
It wasn't
close
close.
again.
But it's,
I think we're
I'm
safe.
talking about
Well, can we just say that
Close.
if town meeting's on, we're not gonna meet on Thursday?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
just
provisional.
This is a
And we'll
provisional
use-
date.
We'll use
If the
Saturday.
town meeting doesn't happen, this happens.
Yeah.
oh,
So,
so where are we having this
Boy,
thing on
Okay.
Thursday? We have to find a
Yes,
spot.
it's a find a spot.
We
Okay.
have it at the middle school.
I bet
Middle
the
school.
town, I bet the town room's
Probably
free.
available.
The
The town room is probably free on Thursday.
town room's,
Okay.
middle school auditorium's free.
Yeah.
The Woodbury
That's
room,
true, right?
and
Not yet,
the
yeah.
Town room is free. Who does the room and run?
We'll,
do.
And book,
Well,
free and book.
Just,
Okay, so we're going to schedule a hearing for a feedback session on manager council forum for Thursday night if town meeting does not meet. We will be inviting public comment at a feedback session Thursday night.
and otherwise,
And if town meeting does meet, we will invite public feedback on Saturday morning.
great.
Sounds good.
So we're not presuming that
And
they're
can
gonna
you-
do what we want just
yeah.
because we asked them to.
Will you be able to, are you gonna change the time for Saturday to have like an hour and a half? Probably.
we'll just include it as part of the agenda since we know we'll have a
Oh, no, I
forum
just
here
don't
on
know.
Saturday morning.
That's good. And can you extend it, do we need to extend it on the other end, like from 3 to 3:30 or something? To get enough time with Mike and Tanya? That's all I'm trying to figure out.
I would probably be in favor of that. We're here, let's go to 3:30 or 4 if we have to have a public
Well, that's what I'm
session.
saying.
I mean, that's fine, we're here, I don't think I think you're only getting me too, you're not getting Mike, so it's just
Yeah.
me, so that's fine.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
I-
Well,
I-
I appreciate that willingness.
Well, since I'm here, right, I'll stay.
You don't
And
know.
maybe it'll be time to, we get a drink after.
Yeah.
And put you on the road, you know?
Might get wings?
So did we just say 3:30 then? Is that what we just said?
Or 4.
4.
Well, if there's a public hearing that
If
morning,
there's-
if there's feedback
Otherwise-
session,
Feedback session in the morning.
we'll extend by an hour. If not, we'll stick with,
All right.
roughly 3 o'clock.
The only reason I could see town meeting saying yes, do it on the 11th would be if they thought they were gonna finish.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could see.
And
They're
we're
not
not
gonna
finishing in 2
They're not
nights,
gonna
when
finish.
the library's gonna take a full night.
That's what I think.
Okay, so we have a plan, sort of?
Yeah, and what and you and I and Mandi can also talk about this, because obviously I'd like to come in with some draft language sooner rather than later, so, and I think that's fine, there's a few models we can use for that, but, and also to go through the charter and pick out the places that need to change, because we're gonna wanna talk about then, the council composition, do we still want 2-year terms and 4-year terms, so there's a lot of other things that people should just read the charter with this in mind, probably go back through it and think about things that you would change if it's a manager instead of a mayor and mayor.
Do you want us to send you our thinking, or do we wait?
I mean, you're certainly welcome to, I mean, mostly I'm just gonna be drafting some things and giving you
Okay.
some options,
Sure.
so, but, if you've got a manager charter out there you really love, let me know, that sort of
No, I think we try to work with what we have and just,
Yeah, it's just gonna be really the executive article is
Executive
gonna
article.
completely change. And then there are some other places in the charter, obviously we need to change, but, we'll be going back and picking those out. So yeah, I mean, keep in mind, this is gonna take some
Really, this
extra
is
work.
New England, huh?
Yeah.
You don't like the charter, wait a minute.
it's true, just like the weather.
But yeah, we might as well use this last hour to get through things that,
Let's do the neighborhood.
Neighborhood area
Yeah, that's-
councils.
Mhm, exactly.
Memo, April 14th,
Who sent it?
2017.
Who sent it?
Andy would have sent it to you
Andy, all right,
yesterday.
And let me
Got a
just
bunch
give
from
you,
you and a bunch from me.
It's the Amherst Memo 13 NAC.
and
You
keep in
called it 13, but we already have 13.
There's a lot of information in this memo. Most of it I collected while I was working with Newton. Keep in mind, they've already got these in their charter, so they were trying to, and they weren't really working well in Newton, so they wanted a comprehensive look at this. So this is the specific neighborhood area council, very formal thing in the charter. A lot of cities and towns, I'm just thinking, I work with Haverhill, they've got an informal structure where, neighborhood groups come and meet together and inform the mayor. It's not in their charter. A lot of cities that do this don't have this in their charter. There's only 2 in Massachusetts right now that have these formal structures in their charter.
And those
It's Newton and Worcester, and keep in mind, Worcester has never even formed neighborhood area councils. So it essentially is only Newton in Massachusetts that's formalized anything like this in their charter.
It's in Worcester's charter?
It is in Worcester.
They haven't done it.
They've never created
Sue
them.
'em.
So, no, they don't have, that's
It's
the
not
thing.
mandatory.
Oh.
It's not mandatory. But keep in mind, many other cities have groups that work together. So it's not like these groups won't exist if you don't put them in the charter. And so right now in your chart, we have draft language in section 2-7 that's something, a step back from these formalized neighborhood area councils regarding neighborhood meetings. So to function, to serve some of the same functions, but this would be more directed by the councilors themselves and holding these meetings rather than from the neighborhood area councils up towards the council or the centralized government. So that's what you're seeing. That's the research that I put out there and have given to you. So it really is a question of how formal do you want them? Do you want them in the charter? Who is directing these and sort of information to that extent? What happened in Newton, I can let you know, is that they weren't working, I think, as they were originally envisioned. There was a lot of prescriptive language in their charter right now that they have. And as we know, they're having a charter commission. They actually just voted on a new charter, and they pulled back a lot of this to redirect it towards the council to say, City Council, you make the rules regarding neighborhood area councils. We don't think that should go in the charter. Although people still wanted something in the charter to say they existed, but now the direction is for the council to really take care of the details. So that's what happened in
Can I, I'll call on you in a minute, but
Sure, of course.
I'm gonna call myself first.